I tried the new ASUS keyboard, so you don't have to. But why? So you don't have to? Wait, hold on. This feels really good. Hold on. What? Howdy, hey, I'm Hipyo Tech, and I've tried a lot of keyboards, but this one is a little bit different. Oh, yeah. 9 months ago, I tried a keyboard, the ROG Azoth, and it was fine. In fact, maybe a little bit impressive even. But there was a problem. The switches were not very good. It was a lot of work. I had to switch them out and find new keycaps and oh, what's this? I just got a message from ASUS, and they listened to all of my feedback? Or, sorry, most of my feedback? Spoiler alert, it has to do with these switches. Dear God, they are so smooth. But there's a twist, because in this video, I'm going to be trying the new version of the ROG Azoth, which still has some of the old problems. However, I'm also going to be taking it to the next level. And did I mention we're also giving one away? So stick around for that. This keyboard might be the best stock gaming keyboard I've ever tried. And because of that, ASUS challenged me to mod this keyboard and make it element themed. Now, I know what you're thinking. How does an element theme relate to a gaming keyboard? Well, you know how all gamers need to touch grass? Oh, yeah. So I'm taking this thing apart, making a brand new set of keycaps, stay tuned for that, and trying to spray paint it. Oh God. Oh God, please don't look at that. No, stop looking, stop. So ASUS made their best gaming keyboard better, but how much better? And can I make it better? Well, stick around and find out. Speaking of sticking around, if you want an extra howdy hey, then go ahead and stick around that subscribe button. I'll wait. Howdy hey. Oh, yeah. Now, this story begins with a package, and wait, clicky switches? No. God, no. No. Okay, let's try this again. This story begins with a package. And this video is sponsored by ASUS, who did not review this video or tell me what to say. However, they did tell me to show a few things, and I'll tell you when they told me that. Now, don't worry, I'll get into the clicky switches later, and it will all make sense. However, first, I'm going to be starting with the Azoth, with some new switches. Now, I did a video on the ROG Azoth 9 months ago, as I mentioned before, and you can check it out with the link in the top right. However, if you saw that one, you're gonna wanna watch this one, as there is some big differences, which we'll get into later. Now, I'll be getting into the keyboard in just a minute, but the keyboard comes with the most accessories I've ever seen. Like, you get a switch opener, you get a brush, you get a switch puller, albeit a bad one, a weird dongle thingy, lube, lube, okay. A keycap puller, albeit also a bad one, and a lube station for lubing your own switches. Huh, that was a lot, right? Now, there's also these snow switches, which we'll talk about later, but let's talk about the keyboard itself. This is the ROG Azoth Moonlight. It comes in 2 versions, the linear and the, oh no, the clicky, which we're gonna be looking at later in this video. Now, I know I'm making memes right now, but the clicky is actually so much better than I expected. That's all I'm gonna tell you, no more spoilers. Speaking of spoilers though, what I can spoil is your wallet, as this thing starts at $249 US. Now, first impressions of that is it could be overpriced. In my original Azoth review, I didn't actually know the final price before making the video, so I just vaguely assumed it was $250 to $300, and oh, that's a knob. Hello. By the end of the video though, I hope to provide you enough info that you can make a decision on whether or not that's overpriced for you, based on preference. As far as the actual design goes here, there's not that much that's changed. It's still got the flippy feet, it's still got the plastic back to allow for its very good wireless capabilities. However, you might be noticing the fact that it is indeed not a black keyboard. Now, don't worry, I'll be getting into why this keyboard is better soon, but first, let's talk about the wireless. As I mentioned in my previous video, the wireless on this keyboard is stinking incredible. I don't have a lab or anything, but the 2.4 gigahertz is definitely the fastest I've felt on a keyboard. So if you're a gamer that needs wireless capabilities, this is probably the best, and there's really not that much competition. Speaking of competition, this keyboard does come with an LED screen in the top right, which has some features like changing your volume and your RGB settings, which is kind of neat. And it's also customizable with their app, but honestly, it's a little bit of a gimmick. But hey, gimmicks are what this whole entire hobby is about. Other things worth noting here is that this is a 75% keyboard, meaning you keep your F row and your arrow keys. However, you do lose a numpad, so sorry numpad gang, no numpad. Now, one thing worth noting that I feel like did not improve from this Moonlight version to the other version is the keycaps. Now, they decided to go with the shine through keycap, I get that, it's for epic gamer RGB time, fine, whatever, but they are just painfully thin and really not the highest quality. What is the highest quality though are these stabilizers, which love them or hate them, I personally love them, as they are very well lubed. Now, here's where the main differences start to appear, and it's with the NX Snow switches. Now, I have looked at an ASUS keyboard before that had these switches, and when I looked at that, I said, Why did they not put these in the Azoth? Well, well, well. Now, I'll be humble, and take all of the credit for this. You guys are welcome. I made it, so these switches are in this keyboard. Now, the gasket performance, as yes, this is a gasket-mounted keyboard, is very lackluster at best. However, these switches feel so buttery smooth that it kind of makes up for it. Kind of. Now, don't worry, we'll still look at the clicky switches in just a minute, but first, I want to actually get started on the process of modding this keyboard. Because remember, we're trying to go for an Elements theme in this video. Now, the NX Snow switches are a factory lubed linear switch, which has a 1.8mm actuation point and a 53-gram force. This means it's relatively light, which makes it good for gaming. However, it is not a Hall effect switch, so it's not going to give you that Wu-Ting effect. Now, the previous switches in the original Azoth were NX Reds, which were factory lubed. However, they just left a lot to be desired. Kind of like the difference between driving a Prius and a Porsche. These are a lot better. I know I'm talking a lot about the switches, but this is really important as they come built into the keyboard. And as I'll show you later in the video, they sound very, very good. Now back to the challenge. I really love plants. Like, I run a plant channel at Hipyo Plants, and I have over 200 houseplants. So when ASUS challenged me to build an Elements themed keyboard, let's just say things got a little bit out of hand, and I went and designed a whole entire keycap set for this build. Now, I've made multiple keycap sets in the past, so this wasn't too daunting for me. However, Goblin Tech Keys made it happen. Now, designing a keycap set is pretty complicated. However, I felt like I needed to fully commit to the Elements bit, and what the hell is this random Statue of Liberty guy doing? What's going on here? Please comment. Hi, Mr. Statue of Liberty. Anyways, so I designed a keycap set, I prototyped it, I got multiple color samples, and this is what I have here to show you today. Now, these keycaps are dye sub PBT, which is why I'm able to have this beautiful Hipyo Plants logo. And I wanted to go with a much lighter color theme than the other plant-themed keycap sets that are out there, as they just kind of felt too dark and professional. I think this is going to look a little bit more cute and also a little bit more elegant, and also I personally prefer the sound of dye sub PBT over something like a double shot PBT or double shot ABS. Now, I'm not done with the build. However, here's where it gets cool, because I'm also selling this keycap set for $59.99, and you can check it out with the link in the description. Some things will have changed because I'm showing you a prototype set right now. Like the top left novelty will be different. However, this will not be a group buy, so you can check it out with the link down below. But I recommend you go fast. However, we're not done here because I'm only half committed to the earthy plant theme. And also, I haven't taken apart the keyboard yet, and I want to see if it's any different than the original Azoth on the inside. And maybe I'm gonna mod it to make it even better. Okay, remember the part where I told you I would tell you if ASUS told me to tell you anything? Sorry, that's a little bit convoluted, but they told me I have to show you the clicky switches, so fine, I'm gonna show you them, but I'm a little bit scared, like, Now, if you know me, my preference is that I do not like clicky switches, and oh, it's clicking. Now, just because I don't like clicky switches doesn't mean that you can't like clicky switches. It's a preference-based hobby, that's fine. However, I'm a little bit scared. Let's go ahead and try it. Let's try it. All jokes aside though, did those clicks kind of thok? ASUS made a box clicky switch in 2023, gone wrong, gone right? Now, these are very weird on the inside, and as I'm not very familiar with clicky switches, I'm not familiar with who makes these types of switches, but here's how they sound. I'm kind of impressed here. Like, they kind of sound thocky. Like, they're thocky clicks. The factory lube job on these is really nice, and if you like the idea of a very loud clicky keyboard, these are some of the best clicky switches I've ever tried that I haven't lubed myself. However, that's all I have to show you of that keyboard because they only gave me 1 day to film it. If it all burns down, can we burn down together? Ooh, yeah. But going back to our other theme, it's time to take this thing apart with the help of my cat, Nola. Please say thank you for sitting there and guarding Hipyo as he unscrews the keyboard, Nola. Great job. Just like the other Azoth, taking this thing apart is very easy, and it's just a few, and by a few I mean like 10 screws. However, there is going to be a part that is not very easy to take apart. Now, the top housing is aluminum. However, it is very thin, and I'm going to be setting that to the side. And the bottom housing is plastic. So the majority of this board is plastic. This is where I think the Azoth hits its first snag, as $250 for a plastic keyboard is just too expensive. Now, I'm going to be taking most of the stuff out of the case as my goal here is to paint the whole entire case. But as I do that, I gotta wonder, why did they price this thing at $250 bucks? If I compare it to the fully built GMMK Pro, it's a better value. However, if I compare it to something like the Keychron Q1 Pro, the switches are better in this one, but I'll get back to that later. Anyways, for the first time ever, I'm actually gonna go outside, and the reason why is I don't wanna get too high off of spray paint fumes. Now, if you're an expert at spray painting at home, I'm sure you're gonna tell me everything that I've done wrong, and don't worry, I'll tell you the first thing that I did wrong was forgetting to sand the top plate down. That is really dumb of me, and I already got 2 layers into painting this thing before I realized that. No, I'm not smart. So that's the first mistake of many, and don't worry, I did remember to sand the bottom part of the case, but not the top. Now, I didn't want to mess around with taking the battery out of the case, as this is a wireless keyboard, as I mentioned before, so I just covered the top of it with painter's tape, and nothing bad is gonna happen, right? Nothing bad is gonna happen, right? Then I just did a couple passes with the spray paint, and God, it's been a really long time since I spray painted a keyboard or did anything crazy DIY like this, and honestly, I do really miss it. If you have any other weird DIY ideas for me, or you think this is generally interesting content, please leave a comment and tell me that. Otherwise, I'm just probably never going to do it again because I care too much about what you think. Now, after doing a couple coats over the course of a day and then leaving it overnight to dry, there were definitely some errors that had been made. Oh my. So I made a couple touch-ups, and we'll talk about those in a minute. But first, let's see if I can peel back the painter's tape and, hey, actually, I didn't mess anything up. That's really shocking, honestly. However, the same cannot be said about the top plate, which I did mess up quite a bit, and you're about to see why. Get ready for it. Get ready. Oh, I have to rewatch this. Nope, that's not good the second time either. So this is probably why I should have sanded down the top plate. That way the adhesion was a lot better. Maybe primed it. And please don't look at this. I tried to cover it up with a marker that I thought was the same color. It wasn't the same color. It's fine. Then I just taped the bottom of the PCB, tape mod baby, link in the top right, and then put it back together, which was surprisingly harder because I added 3 layers of paint, which makes the friction fit not very good. However, after a lot of pinching, I managed to get it put together, and voila. Look at that beautiful keyboard. Now, I'll tell you my final thoughts in a second, like whether or not it's worth it or not, but look at how cute Nola was posing next to it as I was taking these photos and videos. Now, you don't have to paint your keyboard at home to make it better. Don't worry, that was just for me because I thought it was fun. However, I do recommend you check out the Hipyo Plants keycap set, which will be linked down below, because I do think these match the aesthetic so well. Now, my final thoughts on the Azoth are they improved a lot, they listened to me, which is fantastic, and these new switches are incredible. Now, the stock experience on this keyboard is really good, as you'll hear in the final sound test, but I can't help but think it should just be a bit cheaper. Like, if this thing was $199 fully built, it would be one of the best gaming keyboards and priced competitively. So it's still a fantastic keyboard, just maybe on sale. Between the switches and case color, not much has changed since the original Azoth, and I go into a lot more detail in that video, so you can check it out in the top right. However, let me put down my Coastal Retreat desk mat, which I'll have linked down below, because a lot of you were asking about this desk mat as well. I have released it. It's for sale now. It's a little bit expensive, unfortunately. I ran this one independent, and did you know shipping is expensive? I just learned that. Earlier, I mentioned a giveaway for these keyboards, and if you want to enter, you can click the link down in the description and vote on who made the best keyboard to be entered in to win one of these keyboards. Bye!